Hey, how's it going everybody, and welcome back. So if you've been following my channel for the last couple of days, you'll probably know that I've been pretty hyped for the LumenTale Kickstarter campaign, which is ongoing right now. Now that being said, I want to explain what exactly it is about LumenTale that has me so excited, and sort of the implications I think it'll have on the genre that go beyond just it potentially being a good game. I also think that so far the developers have been doing a pretty good job with the Kickstarter campaign itself, and the way it's structured, how they've been promoting it, the way its goals and roadmap are presented, etc. So I'm going to talk about all of that too. Anyways, all that being said, subscribe for daily monster taming videos, and let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, the game itself seems to be a Pokemon-like monster taming RPG with some unique twists of its own, like the ability to capture monsters in the overworld, interact with the environment in unique ways, the brand new quadruple battle format, which of course will exist alongside 1-on-1, 2-on-2, and 3-on-3 formats, and of course we have the really nice graphical style, which is yet another example of what I think Pokemon should have honestly just have stuck with instead of going full 3D, just expanded on that sort of 2D aesthetic, but that's just me. Now, we know a little bit about what the gameplay is going to entail in terms of mechanics, like how there will be different personality categories for the monsters and then elements on top of that. And we of course know that the game will be very heavy with its story implications, which will surround the lore behind what the Animons are supposed to be and how they actually relate to the Tamers, which are called Lumens, and all that fun stuff. The full title of the game, that being LumenTale Memories of Trey, indicates that unlike the typical Pokemon experience where the story kind of takes a backseat to the gameplay, this story is actually going to be much more honed in and important to the game itself, similar to something like we see with Nexomon Extinction. Anyways, these are all reasons that the game intrigues me. I very much enjoy Pokemon-like experiences. You guys know that some of my favorite games in the genre include the Nexomon titles and Coromon, and I also love RPGs that mix it up a little bit with games like Cassette Beast, which is coming out this year, and Monster Sanctuary, which I've enjoyed extensively. So just based on that, the very appealing visuals and lore, this already sort of puts itself into the camp of games I'm very much excited for. It does go even deeper though. You could even toss aside the fact that this is probably one of the nicest looking Kickstarter games I've seen in a long time, especially in the genre, but I also think that the context behind the fact, and I'm sure you've already heard this by now, that the game is being developed by the same team that created Pokemon Xenoverse, and that holds a lot of weight. For me personally, there have been many Kickstarter games that I've been excited for, but most of the games in the genre have been from developers who were taking their very first crack at making a full-scale commercial game. And while I guess you could say Xenoverse doesn't really count because it's a fan game using the Pokemon IP, I do think that it's on the same level as most commercial monster taming games in terms of its quality and mechanics and stuff like that. But even that isn't the full story here, because while I definitely feel a lot more comfortable about backing something that is itself backed by years of development experience, fan game or not, the idea of having these Pokemon fan game developers branch off and make their very own IPs is a huge step in the right direction for the monster taming genre. And to my knowledge, the only other games I've really seen do anything like this are the Roblox developers for games like Lumion Legacy, Tales of Tenario, Doodle World, etc., which honestly, I don't believe that a game created in the Roblox engine will have the same effect on the wide-scale genre as a standalone monster taming title would. This isn't even an argument about whether or not these games are good or bad, or if Roblox as a platform is good or bad, or anything like that. It's just sort of already been proven, because a lot of these games like Lumion Legacy have very large fan bases, yet the vast majority of these fans seem to actually stick with Roblox games rather than monster taming games in general. But with this, I could definitely see some Pokemon fan game fans actually check out LumenTale and sort of act as a way for more fans of popular Pokemon titles like Uranium, Xenoverse, of course, Reborn, etc., join the community. But also, this could also act as inspiration for the developers of these types of games to branch outside of Pokemon as well. Don't get me wrong, I love me a good Pokemon fan game, but I think at the end of the day, in a world where Pokemon is very quick to shut down anybody that makes these types of titles, this is the best option to keep the talent that exists within these games and bring them to a much safer platform that also encourages them to innovate beyond just making something that's Pokemon, but with a couple unique aspects. You can have a fully unique title that stands on its own 2 feet. The Kickstarter itself and the time building up to it has also put confidence in the developers, at least for me, because it seems like a lot of what they did was really calculated, and they planned the Kickstarter to be not only effective but also realistic. The game doesn't have a super low goal that would raise any eyebrows. I've seen a couple people say that they thought the goal was kind of high, which is good because it's not unheard of for developers to put really low funding goals on purpose so they can secure funding, but then, you know, if the game barely gets funded, then you're kind of put in a weird spot. Plus, on top of that, the team has already been working on Xenoverse, so you can see that they're committed to the long haul. They've been working on Xenoverse, I think, for like 8 years. The roadmap seems really realistic as well, with them not putting a full release date until December 2024, which is basically 2 years from now, which might seem far, but I appreciate, because how many times as a monster taming fan have you heard the words, "The game's not ready yet, we have to delay it"? I'm a huge supporter of giving game developers the time they need, but I also have noticed that there has been over-promising in terms of features and release dates in recent times regarding monster taming Kickstarters, and if LumenTale had to delay, I'd much rather them say, hey, we've got to delay from December 2024 to mid-2025, than if they put down 2023 as their initial goal, then delayed it to 2024, then delayed it to 2025 again. So like I said, I have no issue with game developers taking the time they need, but I also think that being realistic with your goals and not conveying what is seemingly the absolute best case scenario if no problems occur is very important too. The stretch goals seem pretty realistic. There was nothing too crazy there, a lot of natural progression. We have a console stretch goal at 90,000 euros, which makes sense because the initial goal is 75,000, and the backer rewards again seem realistic, like they make sense. The rewards that would allow for the developers to need more time, like adding specific custom NPCs or trainers, which I wish I could afford to do, by the way, are a little pricier, because if they were to put them too low, they'd have a bunch of extra work on their hands, and the rewards that you'd expect to see at the lower tiers of a Kickstarter, like getting the actual game itself, are very fair, with the early bird package offering the game for 16 euros. And if you're not within the first however many people, you can still get the game for 20 euros. This is something that is very important for Kickstarter games, because I think a lot of people will back early for that price discount or certain exclusive rewards, like being able to follow the inner parts of developments, etc. They also have some other cool rewards like a plushie, which I totally nabbed, beta access, etc. I can't count how many times I've seen a game on Kickstarter with a very high minimum backing amount, which left a lot of people feeling like they had to back more than they even could if they wanted to support the game, which is obviously not a good thing, because if people can't afford the minimum pledge, they'll just pledge zero instead of pledging a few dollars. Furthermore, and I think this is an even bigger point, is that a lot of people have not been happy with Kickstarter lately, and that doesn't just concern itself with the monster taming genre, but the platform as a whole. Kickstarter has been a great host to many amazing projects that might otherwise not exist, but it's also been host to plenty of games that never came out, go ghost, underdeliver, etc. Even I myself have had games that I've backed, which is roughly 20 at this point, which I'm actually quite disappointed with. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus here. I will be discussing every game's Kickstarter progress at some point, but with this being an ongoing issue on the platform, it's not surprising that people don't want to dump, let's say, $40 on the lowest pledge tier, but they might still be willing to drop a few at a sort of low-risk investment, if you will. I'm not trying to make this video turn into a how to make a Kickstarter campaign video, but my point is that this doesn't feel like it was just slapped together. It feels like many aspects of this were put together with careful thought in mind. None of the backer tiers provide anything that's gameplay affecting. I did see a couple questions asking about what the Lost Starter backer tier is. It's just a shiny, which to me, I absolutely have no issue with, because you can actually go get that shiny for yourself and acts as a nice way for people who did back a larger sum to get something nice for their playthrough. Even in terms of advertising, the devs didn't do anything fancy. It's not like they reached out to 10 billion different YouTubers, but they've actually been keeping people up to date with what's going on their Twitter. They've been communicating with their community. For example, I had messaged them about adding something to the Monster Taming Direct, and they were more than happy to whip something up for the event, which I'm sure at the same time was a lot for them because they were working on a Kickstarter campaign. But nevertheless, they gave me what was one of my favorite submissions for the Direct itself. And judging from some of the comments I've seen on their Kickstarter campaign and on their Discord, that actually helped them quite a bit too, because the Monster Taming Direct had a lot of dedicated monster taming fan eyes on the project. I had also found a comment in one of my videos that the Pokemon Xenoverse launcher actually has mention of LumenTale in it, which, if true, I think is an absolute genius marketing move on their part. So when you launch up Pokemon Xenoverse, you got the launcher or whatever, you see a little advertisement for LumenTale. That's just a 2000 IQ move. It just shows how they've been strategically putting this campaign together. They also have a demo launching at some point during the campaign, and while some might say that it should have been present right away, I do think that this actually might act as a way to jumpstart the Kickstarter algorithm midway through the campaign, when generally speaking, Kickstarters are dead during that time. It'll bring more people back to the Kickstarter page in order to get the link for the demo. It'll probably be live on Steam, but if they have a Kickstarter update for it, it'll bring a lot more people back. This might also create more traction because it'll give content creators such as myself the opportunity to make more content about the game and tell people, hey, you could play this too, which will again bring more people to their campaign. It can kind of snowball from there. At the time I was scripting this video at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, LumenTale was at about 32% funded, so about a third. And now that I'm actually doing voiceover for the video at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, it's about halfway funded. I can only imagine what it's going to be like by the time you guys watch this video. Who knows, it might even be funded by then. Anyways, I guess you could say that the major factors that contribute to my hype for this game include the presentation of the game itself and the intrigue behind it. I don't think it's a controversial opinion to say that this is, again, one of the best looking Kickstarter games in the genre during its campaign, and the professionalism and thought that went into it, both in terms of marketing and the Kickstarter itself, kind of push it up there too for me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you have to back this or you even should back this game. I want it to get funded personally, and as of right now, it looks like it probably will, and it looks like it'll be a good project and yada yada yada, but I'm also not a psychic. A meteor could go and hit their studio right after all the pledges are submitted. So as always, I do urge everybody to actually go check out the Kickstarter yourself. I did do a video reading it off. You can check that too, but never ever ever just put money into something for the sole reason that a content creator told you to, because I'm honestly getting a little bit tired of hearing about a bunch of drama regarding content creators trying to suck up money in less than savory ways from their fans. I'm personally backing this game, and I'm not sure if this is something that people want to know, but I personally pledged for beta access because I wanted to be able to play the game early, and there was also a plushie in that tier that I really wanted. I also added like a credit thing to put my name in the credits, which is like an add-on or whatever. I ended up spending 108 euros. That roughly translates to like $150 Canadian. So if you want to know what I backed, that's what I backed. I'm not just sitting here telling you guys to spend money on something that I'm not even willing to put money in. And again, I'm not telling you to spend money on it. Go look at the Kickstarter campaign, come to your own conclusion. But all disclaimers aside, I am excited for this, and I'm hoping to see, at the bare minimum, the Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox stretch goal unlock at 90,000 euros, because I think that once the game is confirmed for consoles, it'll spiral it even further. But yeah, make sure to let me know what you guys think about LumenTale so far. What attracted you to the Kickstarter campaign? What made you decide to back it? Was there anything that made you decide not to back it? Let me know all of your thoughts, and as per the usual, if you do want to stay up to date on all things monster taming, definitely subscribe to the channel for daily monster taming uploads. Check out my Twitter, Discord, and Patreon linked below. Special thanks to the patrons, especially Jim Hamilton, Dark Persona, Dro Ghost, and Exodus, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.